Hi, I'm Evelyn Meltzer, a second grade teacher at the Lincolnwood School in Evanston, Illinois. In keeping with this year's school theme, the Year of the Writer, our class put together a newspaper. The news broadcast you are about to see is an extension of this project and was suggested by one of our parents who is a freelance producer. She arranged for her cameraman to do the filming, and her husband, who is an NBC sports anchor, arranged for the editing of this film. I was very fortunate to have had other parents with journalism, broadcasting, and/or news photography experience who were willing to come to school and share their fields of expertise with us. In addition to their visits, we also had a newspaper and a television reporter come speak to the class about their professions. These visits took place approximately a month before the actual taping. Following our guest speakers, the children decided what jobs they wanted to have on the news broadcast, and some parent volunteers and I helped the children write and edit their stories. This project was truly interdisciplinary. Our art and drama teachers each played an important role. As a culminating activity to this project, we took a field trip to the Chicago Tribune, where we were led on a tour by the reporter who visited our class. And then we went to the NBC Tower, where we were taken on a tour by our parent, who's the sports anchor. We also had a special presentation by an NBC weatherman, and we ended by eating lunch in the NBC cafeteria. It was a very special field trip. In fact, this entire project was very special. I hope that you enjoy viewing Room 19 News as much as the children in Room 19 enjoyed bringing it to you.
Hello, I'm Kate Schwartz.
And I'm Martin Greco.
Coming up on News 19, our class learns all about TV news. I'll have a full report on the speakers and events.
It's spring, and that means baseball. I'll share what I learned about the Cubs at spring training. Justin Platt will update us on the Sox.
Sills and Webb will be here with Thumbs Up movie reviews.
And Ryan Hill will have the spring weather picture. All this and more on News 19 next.
From Lincolnwood School, this is News 19 with Kate Schwartz and Mark Giangreco, Ryan Hill's weather, and Mrs. Meltzer's entire second grade news team. News 19.
Hello, I'm Kate Schwartz. We've been as busy as a class can be. Today's first story will be about all the people who came to our classroom to talk about news and different ways of reporting it. Mrs. Ogun Chiambo, who wrote for the Chicago Tribune, spoke to us about newspapers, telling us how they're put together and what goes into them. Mr. James, also a writer for the Chicago Tribune, told us how to research a news story. Mr. Sills, who is a photographer, explained about cameras and taking photographs for news stories. Then Mr. Leonard, who works for a TV news show, came to tell us how you can do different things while filming, such as making tall people look short, and that there are many sides to one story. We learned all about how equipment is used in a newscast from Mr. Gene Greco, who is a TV sportscaster. Finally, Mr. and Mrs. Jacobson came to speak to us about different news stories and how they are covered in different places, like TV, the newspaper, or a magazine. Thank you all so much for coming in to help us put together this broadcast. And a great big thank you to Mrs. Jean Greco. Now Jesse Waller fills us in on other happenings in Room 19.
This is Jesse Waller reporting for News 19. Sometimes you might wonder what we do differently than any other class. Unlike any other class, we have an ICMM club. That means I can manage myself. We don't write names on the board if we're bad. We get points if we're good. And at the end of the week, if we have 46 points or more, you'll be in the club and get a job, like the person who does calendar or the person who takes the attendance stamp. We've been counting the number of days we have been in school. See our number line? When we got up to 100 days, we had a 100-day museum, and we were the only class who had that. Most of the kids brought in 100 things, like 100 jelly beans or 100 pennies. Ryan Webb brought jelly beans, and A.J. Cobb brought pennies. John Donahue brought popcorn, popped and unpopped. Bridget Fett brought dots, and Mark Giangreco brought M&Ms, and Ryan Hill brought sports cards. We have had more visitors than any other class. We have had Frank James, the Chicago Tribune reporter, Mr. Mike Leonard, a reporter on the Today Show, Mr. Sills, a photographer, Mr. and Mrs. Yama, Mr. and Mrs. Jacobson, and Mr. and Mrs. Jean Greco. Here are the newspapers we have made. Some of the articles we have written are about friendship, the Book It program, an Indian story, movie reviews, and a Match the Famous Black American. Now to Wayne Hoffman, who has an opinion about the TV news.
I like listening to news on TV better than reading it in a newspaper. You can learn more. I like to hear for myself what people have to say. I like to see for myself what's going on. I learned a lot about news this month.
Thank you, Wayne. Our art teacher, Mrs. Sweeney, is standing by with Rebecca Phipps to explain how art has been part of our TV project.
Thank you, Katie. I'm Rebecca Phipps reporting from Room 19 News here with Miss Sweeney, Linkwood School's art teacher. Miss Sweeney, you had a big part in putting this newscast together. Tell us how you helped us design our logo on our button.
In art class, we talked about what would make a good design. We talked about color and readability. And then each student designed a button. And then we had a little contest to choose the button that we all liked. Then we put it together, and Mrs. Meltzer took it over and made the buttons.
How long have you been an art teacher?
7 years.
Why did you decide to be an art teacher?
I loved working with children, and I loved art.
Where did you learn to be an art teacher?
I went to college in Dubuque, Iowa at Clark College.
When you're not teaching art, what do you like to do?
I like biking and running, and I like sewing, and I make quilts.
Thank you very much for being with us today and for helping us with our newscast. It's been fun to get to know you better.
Oh, it's been fun to work with you, too.
Tell the story, don't read it. That's the advice of Mr. Schwinghammer, who has been working with the News 19 reporting staff this week. John Donahue is with Mr. Schwinghammer in the auditorium.
Mr. Schwinghammer, thank you for coming to talk with us today.
Oh, you're welcome, John. I always enjoy working with your class. This is kind of a special project, but I think it'll be a lot of fun.
How do you like being a school drama teacher?
Well, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy all the different classes and the different things that we do. Sometimes having to teach 650 kids a week is a bit of a challenge. It took me quite a while to learn everybody's name. You know how that goes. But I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. We do a lot of silly things.
What did you do before you became a drama teacher?
Well, John, I've done a lot of different things. Before working here, I was a director of education at the Center for American Archaeology. I was a school designer in the former Soviet Union, and I lived and worked over there for a while. I was a professional modern dancer for a period of time. I still work as a professional storyteller. So I've done a lot of different things.
Were you ever in any plays?
Yeah, I've done a lot of plays, John. When I was very young, that's how I got involved in drama. When I was in college, I was a theater major and did a number of premieres, including a couple world premieres of plays. Once I got out of college, most of my performing was not really in the world of theater as much as in dance. I was a professional dancer. I worked here in Chicago with a company called Mordine & Company. I had my own company for a while and did a lot of work with other dancers in the city.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Schwinghammer. It was interesting to know more about you. Well, that's it from John Donahue in the school auditorium.
Now it's time for sports and Mark Jean Greco. We were real jealous when you went away for spring training.
Well, it was fun, Katie. And the Cubs aren't doing very well, but it's only spring training. If they didn't have Ryan Sandberg, they'd really be in trouble. On March 6th, in spring training, Ryan Sandberg hit his first home run of the season in a game with the San Francisco Giants. Andre Dawson looks good. I watched him take batting practice up close. Dwight Smith wasn't doing too well. He struck out and dropped a couple of fly balls. His spirits are good, though. He snuck up behind me and said, "Boo." Was I scared? I jumped a mile. I don't think the Cubs are going to pull off a win in their division in the National League East. Let's see if the White Sox can do better. Here's Justin Platt asking, are the Sox going to win their division in the American League West?
Thanks, Mark. Today I'm asking people if they think the Chicago White Sox are going to be in first place in 1992. Right now I am here interviewing Daniel Jacobson. Daniel, do you think the White Sox are going to be in first place in 1992?
No, I don't.
Why?
I don't think they're good enough to be in first place.
Do you think they have good pitching?
Yeah, because they have Charlie Huff. He's pretty good.
Do you think they have good hitting?
Yeah, they have Bo Jackson.
Next to me is Ryan Hill. Ryan, do you think the White Sox are going to be in first place?
Yes,
Why?
because, well, they're really good at it. So,
Do you think they have good hitting?
yes,
Why?
because they have Charlie Huff, as you said.
That's pitching.
I mean, but they have Bo Jackson.
Do you think they have good pitching?
Yeah, because they have Charlie Huff, as you said.
Thanks for your opinions, Ryan and Daniel. Now back to Mark.
Here's Matt Seegers with the story of why he likes the Bulls.
Thank you, Mark. Here's why I like the Bulls. My favorite thing about the Bulls is breakaways, because almost every time Michael Jordan gets a breakaway, he makes a shot or a dunk. I have a question for our audience today. Here's Ryan Webb. Ryan Webb, do you think the Bulls will be the NBA champions again?
Yes.
Why?
Because they have a lot of cool guys like Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, B.J. Armstrong, and they know how to slam, rebound, and especially dunk, and they always win games most of the time.
Oh, those sound like good reasons, Ryan Webb. Here's Nick. Nick, do you think the Bulls will be the NBA champions again?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because every time Michael Jordan sticks his tongue out, you know he's going to do a slam.
Yeah, I know that.
That's for sure.
Those sound like good reasons. Wayne, do you think the Bulls will be the NBA champions again?
Yes.
Why?
They're good. And I like the one person is Michael Jordan, because he hits shots sometimes.
Those sound like good reasons, Wayne. Now back to Mark.
Thanks, Matt. Let's hope they can keep the pressure up. When News 19 continues, news from Florida. The mailman who delivers to Lincolnwood School must have a sore shoulder because there's been a lot of mail delivery lately. To explain, here's Asia Cobb.
Our class is pen pals with a second grade class in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Fort Lauderdale is a city near Miami, Florida. It is usually warm there. Miss Melcher knows their teacher, Miss Diamond. They decide it would be fun if their students wrote letters to each other. Our class has 18 students and theirs has 26, so we have to write more kids than they do. Here are pictures of pen pals. Every time we write a pen pal, we put their names in the envelope so we know who wrote to who. The ones I wrote to were Wes, Christina, and Matt. Our pen pal sent these packages of sand and shell. There's a lot of sand where they live. They also made this book about all the interesting places to go in Florida. Miss Diamond will be in Chicago during spring vacation, and she will visit us. We hope she tells us more about our class. Matt Yama traveled to Florida recently and saw a spaceship a special event, the launching of the space shuttle. Matt, what did you see?
First there was a huge puff of smoke in the sky, then there was a boom. And we saw a spark of fire shoot up in the sky. It was the shuttle Atlantis heading off on its 9-day mission. On a causeway at the grounds of the Kennedy Space Center with thousands of others, the Atlantis blasted off. It was the most exciting thing I'd ever seen, standing there on the beach. So the Atlantis carried a crew of 7, and their mission was going so well that they stayed an extra day in space. When they first got into space, their fuel tank began to crack up. But luckily, when they got high enough into space, they could get rid of it. There was a lot for kids to do at the Kennedy Space Center. There's a great movie that shows kids how the astronauts live in space. There are moon rocks and rocket ships and even a shuttle that you can walk through. It's worth a detour from Disney World. This is Matt Yemmer reporting from 19 News.
The warm and rainy weather in Florida has not been matched here in Evanston. To tell us more about our mixed-up spring weather, here's our weatherman, Ryan Hill.
Hello, my name is Ryan Hill with weather. On March 20th, the first day of spring, we had a snowstorm. Snow begins when the air cools very quickly and when water vapor comes together directly to form ice crystals. Each snow crystal has 6 sides and it's a different design. It is not true that snow is frozen rain. This snowstorm really surprised us. Was this snowstorm expected? Well, my farmer's almanac tells me that a milder than normal temperature was predicted in the Chicago area from November through March. A light snowfall was predicted from March 1st through March 25th. A heavy snowfall was predicted from March 6th through March 28th. I guess we beat it by a few days. It started snowing on March 20th, and by the next day, March 21st, there were 8.5 inches of snow on most of the Chicago area. 3,000 passengers were stranded at O'Hare Airport, which is the busiest airport in the United States. It was a real mess there. Now here's Dan Jacobson with a special report.
Here at Lincolnwood School, there's going to be a big change and bigger kids. 3 years ago, the 5th graders went to Haven Middle School because Lincolnwood was too crowded. Now they're coming back because Haven's too crowded, but not all the kids are happy about it. I'm here with 2 4th graders to find out what they think. Here's our first person. Would you tell us your name?
Josh Phipps.
Do you want the 5th graders to come back? Why not?
No, I don't want them to come back. Because I want to go to Haven with all my friends, and I was sort of looking forward to going to Haven after 4th grade.
Okay. What kinds of changes do you think there will be when the 5th graders come back?
2nd graders will go to the other playground. The patrols will be in 5th grade. The drama teacher will come to your classroom, and the music teacher will move into the auditorium. And there's not going to be as much room in the auditorium. And that's about it.
Do you think we'll need to change any rules?
Yes, because there's going to be more kids, so I think they'll need to make it more organized.
All right. Thank you, Josh, for being with us. But some people aren't unhappy about it at all. Would you tell us your name?
Ben Schwartz.
How do you feel about the 5th graders coming back?
I like it because we're more used to the school. And there's older kids at Haven, and we're not so used to them.
Thank you, Ben, for being. Thank you, Ben. And that's the two sides of the story of how people feel about the fifth graders coming back. I'd like to know how Mr. Neiman feels about the fifth grade coming back. Justin Williams has that story. Justin?
This is Justin Williams reporting for News 19, here with Mr. Neiman, the principal of Lincolnwood School. Okay. Mr. Neiman, you heard Dan Jacobson report. Do you? Okay.
How do you?
How do you feel about fifth grades coming back?
I'm looking forward to the fifth graders at Lincolnwood School. That'll give us another chance to watch kids get a year older and learn some more things at school.
Okay. Mr. Newman, how many years you have been the principal?
Well, I've been the principal at Lincolnwood School for 15 years.
Do you know you want to be a principal when you was a little boy?
No, I think when I was younger, I wanted to be a veterinarian and work with animals. And then when I got older and in college, I decided I wanted to be a teacher. After being a teacher for a lot of years, I became a principal.
How did you get to be a principal?
Well, to become a principal, you have to go to college and have to get a degree in education. Then you have to go to graduate school and get a graduate degree in something called school administration. That's what I did.
What's the best part about your job?
Well, what I like the most about my job is working with teachers and working with kids. What I try to do is to help teachers do the best that they can do to help kids learn the most that they can learn each year.
Okay. People forgot principals were kids too. Do you remember the time when you was in second grade?
I don't remember a lot about being in second grade anymore, but I did like school and I had good teachers, and I remember having lots of fun with my friends in school as well as out of school when we were playing.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Newman, for bringing me today with me on News 19. Bridget Fred is now standing by to interview Mr. Lieberman, the school secretary.
Thank you, Justin. I'm happy to have Mrs. Lieberman on here with me today. We all know that without you, Mrs. Lieberman, things would not go as smoothly as they do. How long have you been at Lincolnwood?
I've been at Lincolnwood for 20 years. At the end of June, I will have been working at Lincolnwood for 20 years. And it's been a pleasure working here.
What's the most important thing you do every day?
Every day is different, but mostly answering the phones, taking message, taking care of Mr. Neiman and all the students and teachers in the school.
What do the kids do that bug you?
The biggest thing that kids do that bug me is running through the halls with their gym shoes open and the shoelaces flying in the air. I'm always afraid they're going to trip on them.
Do you have a hobby?
I don't really have a hobby, but I enjoy walking, movies, plays, and of course, being with my grandchildren.
Do you have any children or grandchildren?
I do have 4 children. I have 3 daughters and 1 son. My son has my 3 grandchildren, and they live in Ohio.
Do you play sports?
No, I don't play sports, but my husband is a former gym teacher in Chicago, and we have sports on at our house all the time. So I do like to watch the Super Bowl and the opening Cubs game.
Thanks a lot, Mrs. Lieberman. This is Bridget Fretz signing off from Room 19 News. One of the frequent complaints at Lincolnwood is the food. We've asked Monica Christopher to look into the story for us.
Hi, I'm Monica Christopher
with News 19. We're here in the Lincolnwood School lunchroom with Miss Johnson, the food manager and server. Miss Johnson, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Do the kids like the food?
It depends on what we're serving that day.
How much does the lunch cost?
$1.25 for students, $1.55 for adults and teachers.
What are the kids' favorite food at Lincolnwood?
Pizza, hot dogs, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, pancakes, tacos.
What don't they like?
They don't like the burritos, they don't like the turkey, they don't like the, let's see what else. Oh, meatloaf. Let's see what else. What else do we serve? Oh, they don't like the, it's the chicken nuggets now because they say they don't taste right.
Thanks for coming on Room 19, 19 News, Miss Johnson. Now our favorite movie reviewers, Seals and Webb.
Hi, I'm Warner Sills.
Hello, I'm Ryan Webb.
Both of our movies today are getting thumbs up by us. I'll begin today with our review of The Adventures of the Great Mouse Detective. Don't worry, it's for your kids. It's Disney and G-rated, so your whole family can see it. This movie is a very good mystery. Your kids will love it. It has a lot of mice in it. Believe it or not, everybody in the story is a mouse, just about. Here is what the story is about. One night, a girl and her father are in the father's toy workshop. Then a bat comes in and takes the father. The girl goes to get help from a detective. The detective is sort of like Sherlock Holmes. Although he solved a lot of crimes with his trusty spy equipment, he's never been able to capture the rat the monster bat works for. Do they succeed? I don't want to spoil this great movie by telling you the ending. You have to